take your clues and take your knowledge, put them together. Oh, and we know it's a biography. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, we're going to say biography. Biography. So Isabel, what type of a question did Mr. K just ask you? Which one takes your knowledge? What type of question?
Author and me.
It's an author and me, because what? You took your
Knowledge
and the
views from the text.
perfect from the text. Put that right under author and me. And so when we're doing our clues, problems, and wonderings, do we do that every week? Raise your hand if you do your clues, problems, and wonderings every week. When you browse your text for your anthology and your decodables, right? We do the same thing. We're looking at the visual clues. Those are author and me. Okay, thinking skills. Perfect. Next one, who asked question 1? Okay, go for it.
What was one very important job that Lincoln held while he lived in Illinois?
Okay, in Illinois. What was one of those jobs? What type of a question is that?
It is.
What kind do you think it is? Because we haven't read the text yet, so we don't know. But what type do you think it is?
I think it is a right there question.
Okay, because what is it asking you? It's asking you what? Read it.
It's asking me one very important job.
Oh, so you're going to locate
One
im-
important fact.
okay, perfect. So put it right there under right there. Number 2, who has number 2? Okay, you have number 2 also. Go for it, Elizabeth.
How did people who wanted to be elected to an office meet the people?
Okay, so think about that question. How did they meet the people? So we haven't read it, so you're going to have to make a prediction. So you think the author is going to tell you what?
I think the author.
All right. So hopefully that showed you a little bit. We just thought that sometimes clips speak a little loudly so you could understand the strategies we were going through. We have handed out.
There was something I wanted to say about that. As I was watching, I was thinking, I want to give you a little bit of context to that video too. That's the end of our 2nd year of implementation too. So when you look at that, that's an example of instruction. 1, those kids have been doing that all year long, so that's why they knew a lot about it. And 2, Casey and I had been working on this a lot together for 2 years, and so our instruction obviously was much more polished than it was our first year. Because as I was watching, I was thinking, I know that it looked nothing like that the first year. So we're here to like lower your affective filter, not raise it. So I wanted to say that. And then I was thinking, as I was thinking about that, I was thinking how important it was for me to have him through this process. We are lucky that we teach at the same site. We're next door to each other. We share kids all day long. Like, you know, we're very fortunate in the situation that we have, but we rely on each other an awful lot. And there was a lot of dialogue going on in those 2 years about what we were doing and what we tried and what worked and what didn't. And so it just really hit me that even if you don't have that opportunity to work that closely with someone, finding someone that you can kind of bounce things off of regularly so that as you go through this process, you don't start to get frustrated and feel like you're all by yourself and that you're really struggling with it, that you have someone to share the successes and the frustrations with so that you can keep going and continue to be motivated.
So yeah, a partner, if you have a partner in your group that you want to partner up with and do something together, that's what helped us a lot. Especially at the end when we came up, our region did boards. And so it was really nice. We came together, our last meeting together, and we put our boards together with our group, with our small group. And we kept it really simple because we just printed out our PowerPoint slides. I mean, that's basically what we did and put the pictures or whatever. It looks maybe a little bit more complex than that, but it really was easy because there was 2 of us going back and forth. But the big thing is if you're collecting data, just keep collecting it, because you might change your question a little bit here or there. Just keep collecting the data. The other stuff is, as long as you're implementing that strategy or whatever, you can change something here or there, but just collect the data. Whatever you're tracking, keep it, keep doing it, and just make sure you can tell we're very passionate about these 2 strategies. We were presenting on them, we had used them, I had used them with some intervention groups at my old school, we had used them here and there, but we wanted to kind of beef up our implementation and see if it really mattered how we implemented it, how effective, if it improved their achievement. So, you know, and it's made us better teachers. So pick something that you really are interested in. Don't get, like, if you pick something just to get it done and go in, don't do it. It's not worth your time. It really isn't. Pick something that you know that you want to get better at, or that you really want to find out that you're interested in. And then lastly, there's the action research proposal form that you have. We were given, our directors gave us lots of graphic organizers to help us along with the research project, but it was very overwhelming for many at the time. And so this sheet is what really just led us for our whole presentation, the one in front of you, with the contact information, the proposal form. We came and we wrote our questions together in our group. We shared them and tweaked them. We would ask each other's questions like, how are you going to measure it? Are you really sure you want to measure that many, students? Can you really track that? How are you going to do that? Is that going to be a nightmare for you? And then really, a good way to hone in on it is being very specific about the group of students that you're going to hone in on. Maybe you're not going to do it with your whole class. Maybe you really want to see how it's going to affect those kids that are on the cusp, that are right there. Or maybe this strategy, you want to see if it really is useful for those lower students. Or maybe those students that are really, they're achieving in your class, but they don't have focus. And maybe you have like 5 of them. I have like 6 boys that are super brilliant, that miss things all the time, because they're never proficient because they can't focus. And so all the strategies I'm giving those boys are ones to help them to focus on. Maybe you're just going to take that group and see if that helps them pay attention to what they're doing, or if it impacts them. So, and then you have the rubric page also to help you kind of draft out your rubric. I would just get started on the rubric, start with the 4, get a little rough draft going, and jot down some notes. So hopefully you saw that we started off what we went through on our flow map. We went through our big question. We talked about a little bit why we chose what we chose, because we love it, because it impacted 2nd grade students, and will impact them later on. We know our 3rd and 4th grade teachers want to continue it with. We really want to help them for later on. We reviewed the strategies. We went through QAR and rereading and re-questioning what they were. So you want to make sure whatever strategy you're going through, you do that also. And that you know exactly what it is. And the part about, it's data-driven, it's helping you reflect and not keep doing a strategy that's not working, or doing it away when it's not working. And then the rubric roundup, we kind of showed you some examples of some rubrics. Help yourself over here. And then, do you have any questions for us?
I was just curious, the group that you were working with, was that an intervention group, or was it your class? Because it seemed like it was so small.
We were using a social studies reader with it, because we were linking it, and I was kind of doing that a little bit for language arts too. But normally I would be having them in a small group. Once they get going, we're reading passages at their level, and they would be doing that strategy as we're going through whatever standard we're working on. So they'd be doing the strategy all the time, and in small group, whole class, whatever we were working on. I might take a passage that was easy enough for the whole class and model like a CST type of a standard I was nailing, and everybody would be using the same kind of strategies with it. When I pull them in their small group, usually it's a text that they are reading at their own level, so they're working on the strategy with text.
So that particular group, was that your class?
Yeah,
That was my
those were our
class.
students.
And that wasn't an intervention group. That group were like, that was like my middle. A couple of them were like middle highs with it because we had just started the social studies readers and we wanted to get our kids using them more often because they were leveled.
So they were doing so well, so while you were working with that group, what were the rest of the kids doing in the classroom?
At that time, during our normal workshop, they would be doing their maybes and musts. They would be writing, they'd be practicing their reading, their words your way swords, things like that. At that time, that video was shot.
It was shot with the purpose of looking at small group instruction, and so the people we were filming for didn't want the other kids in there because of the noise. They wanted to be able to clearly hear what was happening. So while he's teaching, I have them all next door in my room, and we were working on something else. And then
Because we had tried having everybody in the room for another strategy, and the camera was
it
picking
was the
up.
technology that prevented it. So, but ordinarily they're all in there. We can't do that all day long. Here, I want to teach a small group. You take everybody else. Be really nice, but.
And we always get like that time they tried this, they were doing some slip strategies and some linguistic patterns filming in there too, and the cameraman had to have the tables, even though they were all behaving, they were all on task, stop for a second so they could film the table because he was kind of inexperienced with some of the microphones. And so we're always afraid because we know teachers are like, well, what were your other kids doing? But we actually have a very extensive, our kids write, they're on it, they're working.
Anything else we can clarify for you or help with?
I have a question. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, and just wondering what your thoughts about this are. Obviously, you two are very, proficient, intelligent teachers who are staying on top of things. And so my question is, you're doing obviously a lot of great things in your classroom. How do you know that what you're doing with the strategy that you've chosen for the subject of your research is the thing that is helping to increase the test scores? How do you know it's not just a combination of all the great things that you do in your class? Because that's what I'm struggling with a little bit is I have something I'd like to do, but I also know I'm doing other things that I think are helping them in the area of reading comprehension, and so I'm wondering how.
First of all, it's not like you're not going for your PhD. So you know what I mean? Like it's an action research, so you can't. You're right. You can't eliminate and say, I'm going to stop doing these great strategies.
Right.
Because our kids usually need this kind of array of strategies. They need, I'm not going to take away my thinking maps. I'm going to maybe use them in conjunction, a visual tool, with those strategies.
Right.
I'm going to use my linguistic patterns with those strategies because my kiddos need them. But you can't. It's just, but the way we're monitoring it, hopefully we're seeing that improvement because we're looking at the students' work on that rubric. We went back to the rubric, and if the kids are actually internalizing that strategy, then it's showing me that it's probably helping them.
Well, and I guess too, probably now that you guys have, what your response has made me think about that a little bit, is that you're being very purposeful with what you're doing, and you're using that rubric to it's kind of forcing you to do this on a very regular basis, and so you can guess that regular implementation of that strategy is helping.
I was going to say, you're using anecdotal data too. I mean, because it's action research, so it's, and if you look at our boards, we actually have quotes from the kids about what they said about using it, and just what you're noticing them doing, like he's saying if they're boxing, for the strategy that we picked, obviously they're using that, and if their scores are going up, I'm going to have to assume that a lot of that has to do with the fact that now they're monitoring their comprehension better because the strategy's helping them.
That really helps, I think, because some of us were discussing beforehand, how do we observe some of these more subjective types of, some of them are working with book clubs and with books and trying to develop more of a love of reading, and some of those things are very subjective, and so I think that idea is great of having them write quotes that they're saying and observe, and that this is based on your observations of them, not just test scores.
Right, because it's all about, like Casey's saying, you're not doing it to publish it somewhere or something like that. You're doing it for yourself and for your colleagues so that we can learn from each other. And so, we know what's working and what's not working, and we have multiple measures for figuring that out. Some of them are very,